So welcome to the first game of the round of 32 in the 2020 KCC Invitational. Here we have Mr. Philip Ameku, GCA President, sporting the username of P. Filippo GH, playing this first game on the white side against Mr. Kingsley Brown of KNUST Chess, using the username Tahaka. This promises to be a very interesting match indeed. Like you can see from the ratings, they are very close, at least in online blitz strength. So you expect a very competitive match. This is the first game of 5+3. Philip has white. He started with the rather modest King's Indian structure. And black is responding with also a very flexible King's Indian setup with the bishop flankated on b7 to directly oppose white's prized flankated bishop over here on g2. The center hasn't really been determined yet. Both sides are playing rather flexible systems, so it remains to be seen the nature that the rest of the game will take. But it promises to be interesting indeed. We had an interesting first round earlier today where Mr. Selikem won against young Rohan Sharma. It was shorter than we expected, but such is online chess, yeah. And this game also is an interesting one. In over the board chess, you would clearly expect Mr. Philip to be a favorite, as he's probably much stronger. But like we've said, online chess has its own dynamic, and other factors come to play. And the online ratings here suggest that this is a very closely contested match. It remains to be seen whether Philip's strength in over the board chess will show, or whether the experience of the younger guys in online chess will take the day. Here I feel black has been maybe a little too flexible. I would expect you to claim some stake in the center, because now you can just go d4 and completely own the center. I'm not sure what black has to show for it. Of course, he's still very solid and it's difficult to break through. He played this rook g8 to try and make sure that he can always trade off these two bishops and step away from any tactics along that diagonal. But white has such good control because of this structure in the center. He also plays his other bishop on the other long diagonal, so it's a bit of a waiting game for now. They're building up the tension, but there will be some sort of confrontation in the center very soon. Black can prepare to play a move like d5, but he goes the other way with e5, locking the center. This is an interesting choice at this point. I think it's fairly okay because it blunts the bishops, because white's bishops are probably better than black's. This move just blocks the center and ensures that the bishops probably will not be that strong for either side. And now he's remaneuvering his bishop, his light square bishop to another diagonal. I think that move may have been a bit premature though. I would have preferred to at least develop the queen first before such remaneuvering is gone. Because at least the bishop has moved once in this early middle game, but the queen is still on the starting square. So Philip takes the opportunity to break in the center with d4, and now I can't help but feel that white simply has to be better. He's threatening to break open the center and make his bishops good again. And in the meantime, black has played this weakening move, bishop c8, that is clearly not fast enough for the position. But okay, with knight e5, his pieces are also coming out fairly quickly. Or despite something like rook d1, he goes for f4 immediately. Very aggressive, so the knight probably comes. Okay, so that's the problem. The knight gets trapped if it goes to g5 after h3 to g4, and after h3 doesn't have any squares, so this is actually a problem. So it has to go to g6, which is not where you want your knight. That knight doesn't have a lot of prospects. Interesting. So white is putting a lot of pressure on the position now, clearly. Probably significantly better already. I wonder if you can throw in a move like bishop g4 just to get the development in with tempo. It's probably not a bad idea. Also knight g6. But yeah, white has to be better here. The pawns on c4 and e4 provide him a lot of control in the center. The pieces beautifully control these important squares, and black simply doesn't here. So he finds this nice idea of developing the bishop with tempo, and he'll go knight g6 next, I expect. Kingsley is also playing fairly well, I must say. He's not made any glaring blunders just yet. He's in an uncomfortable position, but if you can find the right moves, he can equalize. What White has going for him is space, and space is one of what we call the dynamic imbalances. They're not static, and so they can easily change. Okay, so knight g6. I was wondering whether there's some sort of tactic with knight c6 here, but maybe there isn't. I mean, there's just a straight up fork that I've been blind to. Okay, so White is just winning an exchange here, which is definitely bad news. I can't believe I missed that. Yeah, it doesn't look like he can avoid losing that exchange. With knight e6 next, just fucking queen and rook. That move rook g8 has come back to bite. So that certainly puts him in an uncomfortable position now. And he decided to go knight e to d7 instead. I'm not sure that was better than g6, but maybe here the knight has more prospects of, for example, coming to the c5 square. Let's see whether he can find a way to deal with this material imbalance. So again, we have a good number of spectators, 25 at the moment, mostly from the KNUST Club, following their guy and the other participants in the tournament. Yeah, so Philip definitely has the upper hand here. I would even go so far as to say as he's winning. Wow, he goes for very hyper accurate play. I mean, you have an exchange, you just take it and you don't think. But he starts with e5, and it's probably correct. I mean, if there were no such tactic, e5 of course would be the move that White is looking to play. So this is excellent play, I must say, by Philip. If he is informed, then Kingsley could be in for quite a match. Yeah, e5 just feels correct. It dislodges this knight, reduces the defenses of this guy, asks more questions of his pieces, and now you can see the space is a big problem for black, right? I mean, where is this knight going? Already you have one knight that has no squares, and now a second knight is threatening to join. Maybe you win some time with bishop c5 check here. The knight has to go to this ugly square h7. Yeah, this isn't going well. Okay, now I think you definitely take the rook. I mean, you're probably better with many moves, but it's blitz, so if there's material for you to take there, yeah, there's no much reason to not take it. So he does take the rook. Probably black takes back with that. Okay, now he goes for the in-between check. Takes back with the queen. Yeah, I don't see any counterplay for this material loss. White would have to blunder to allow black to come back into this game. It's just clearly very easily winning for White. Not to mention that the time situation, 2 minutes up on the clock. Even with a 3-second increment, going below 1 minute can always be psychologically difficult to deal with, especially when your opponent has as much as 2 minutes. They can just take their time and torture you, especially when you have this kind of position which you probably lose anyway, no matter how much time you have on the clock. Okay, so bishop comes here, perhaps rook d1, maybe knight e4. Many moves look good. This is quite a crash in this play, I must say. Black was a bit passive out of the opening, but yeah, White didn't waste any time punishing the opening play from Kingsley. It's curious how he'll bounce back from this game. It's a kind of game where it's difficult for you to make any decision. Like you can see bishop c5 going back to e7. It's not the kind of moves you want to play, but I mean, it's difficult to do anything else. You don't have any squares to deal with. You don't have any tactics, any threats to make. You just have to sit and sort of wait, and it's a painful kind of chess to play. When you can lose, but it's better to lose when you're active than to lose like this. It's just very difficult. And Philip continues mounting the pressure. Knight d5 attacking stuff. You really don't want to take and give him 2 central pawns. So wow, you have to play a move like bishop d8. I mean, this is a masterclass here by Mr. Philip. G6 played, and bishop g6 is an idea, probably works, especially when you have a bishop like this, a move like knight f6 following up But I mean, you don't even have to. You're just completely winning either way. You can take your time and win. You can go for bishop g6 and win. This is just a horrible, horrible, horrible position. So will you go for bishop g6? I probably wouldn't go for it just for stylistic reasons. I mean, I don't know if you have enough time to calculate everything out fully, because black does have a good number of options and a good number of squares protecting his f6, pieces protecting f6 for now. But I mean, it feels like such a natural move to make, and it probably does work. But it's all about instinct. Yeah, so he decides not to go for it. I wouldn't go for it either. I mean, you're just winning already, so there's no point in risking anything with a sacrifice. And now black goes c6. Another thing that has happened now is that because he took so much time calculating bishop takes g6, he has equalized on time now, and black can pray for something to go wrong, right? Okay, he spots a pawn here which he takes, but he'll give up the pawn after bishop takes, queen takes, and knight c6, which Philip spots immediately and plays. Oh, and he takes on g3. This is exactly the kind of thing that can happen when you allow yourself to go this much on the clock. h3 is also hanging, but the bishop here is also hanging, so you could play bishop c7, threaten mate in 1, and get that tempo to play bishop takes h3. But again, both sides are under 30 seconds, and you can be sure that the correct decisions will not be made from here on out. So he decides to go bishop f6, also a decent move, queen f2, play to try and neutralize black's queen. The queen goes to c3. Now time is going to play such an important role. This is exciting. Okay, the knight picks up a loose pawn. h3 also falls. Who is going to fold first? Knight b5 hits the queen. The queen has to find a square. He takes on g2, check. King takes back. Queen e5. I'm just announcing moves now, aren't I? Yeah, white is still much better, unfortunately. Black needs to figure out a way to get this knight back into play, and is still down the exchange, but has a pawn for it now, which is something at least. But it feels like he's trying to make the most of the time situation, which is probably clever. So the knight comes back to c3, is heading towards this square. Bishop d4 I don't really understand. I thought he would take, because the knight here on e4 seems super strong, but he doesn't go for it. He pins the knight instead. f5 is a threat. Then queen f3 is played. Do you still play f5? You know what, I would go for it. Just retreats his bishop. Pieces come out. Yeah, it feels like white should be able to keep things under control. Ah, was there a tactic with knights? Okay, no. The queen would have taken on f6. Ooh, the pawn dropped. Yeah, but Kingsley is the first to go below 10 seconds. I think that might just be fatal. Facing this much pressure, it will be very difficult to hold with less than 10 seconds. But at least he has some checks, but nothing, no follow-up. He tries something, but I don't think this works. He can just take here. He can even take the end. Yeah. So the first game will go to Philip. Well-earned victory, but he allowed things to get out of control in the final moments. I think he had mate in 2 there, right? But he still mates. Oh, whoa! Hold up! Hold the presses. This match is far from over. Bishop g7 or queen g7. Wow, he dropped a full rook. Wow. Okay, so we are in an end game now. Players still have literally 0 time on the clock. I'm playing on it. Well, I mean, they have 20 seconds fairly each. I mean, what is going on now? It's difficult to. Okay, so we're in an end game now. White is threatening checkmate. It doesn't look that the queen can maneuver to this square. So do you just block somewhere here or here and give up another pawn? Oh no, he had a series of checks that forced white to give up that battery. But this is very impressive, I must say, from Kingsley, even though he had very little time. And this is what I meant by the experience of online chess also playing a part. Over the board, this game would probably have ended in Philip's victory long ago. But the experience in online chess, and yeah, wow. So the game is drawn by a few-fold repetition. This is an extremely impressive defensive display by Kingsley. To hold that game was wow. Yeah, online chess has its own dynamic. So now we are in the second 5+3 game. Um, Kingsley started with 1e4. Philip played this trusty Karukan, and they went into some sort of exchange variation where he plays an early h3 to try and blunt Black's light square bishop. Black takes the opportunity to play bishop f5, and then they exchange the light squared bishops off promptly. I don't think Black has many issues in such a structure. I mean, the pawn structure is fairly symmetrical, right? It looks, well, it's not symmetrical, but it's similar. There's not too much imbalance. The pieces are fairly identical. They both have their dark square bishops and the knights. So I don't think White holds much advantage out of this opening. Black is doing just fine. The advantage in development for White is, since Black hasn't castled, White has a slight advantage in development, but that's sort of made up for by the fact that Black has this very solid structure and has a dark square bishop. With the pawn chain on the light squares for Black, his dark square bishop is a pretty good piece. But then White's pawn chain is on the dark square, which is why I realized he had to do a bit of a shimmy with his bishop before he became good, because it was difficult to get the bishop with any of these diagonals, with Black already controlling this one, and because your pawn chain is on the dark squares. So, I mean, technically speaking, Black has the better bishop here, and if he's forced ever to go to g3, he has to consider another static imbalance, the double pawn on the g file. So that kind of makes up for the lead in development that White has, and so on the whole, the position is probably just very equal. But it's dynamic equality. Both sides have their trumps, so depending on who can play theirs better, one side will certainly come out with the advantage. Rook e1 with White, that's probably exactly where the rook belongs, especially with Black's king hesitating a bit before castling. So he probably castles now, then you just develop your knight in somewhere. But he's going for something. I mean, conventional, chess teachings will tell you to finish development before you go for any sort of attack. So this move 95 wouldn't be first on my list, but yeah, who cares about conventional chess wisdom when we are playing? Oh, this move I didn't really agree with. I was just talking about how Black's dark square bishop was better than White's, but playing bishop e7 and allowing White to take over this diagonal is not. Now his dark square bishop is probably even more active than Black's. Both knights have taken an outpost in the opponent's territory. Black is now asking certain questions of the f2 square. Probably just rook e2 is fine and holds everything together nicely. It's also a useful move because you might be thinking of doubling rooks after something like this and that. So you always look for moves that are also logical in terms of your overall plan, right? So I think rook e2 makes a fair bit of sense. If there's some tactical problem with it, then okay, you have to go g3, which you're not happy doing. But yeah, I'm not happy with g3. I don't think there was anything really wrong with rook e2 here, which is what you should have played. Now you blunt your dark square bishop once again. You create a whole bunch of light square weaknesses around your king at a point in time where you don't have a light square bishop to plug those holes. So that is not a move I would recommend. So now Philip increases the pressure on this pawn. So you can always see that when it comes to the should I say pure chess strength, it's clear that Philip holds a certain advantage, but the other factors come into play here that will make this match certainly very interesting. So f3 played now to forcefully evacuate the knight on e5, which you will accomplish, but at what cost, right? Look at the pawns in front of your king. Now king safety is a huge issue, and if Black can coordinate some sort of attack on White king, there will be consequences. He tries to get some sort of Moving here with knight e5. I don't know what the point of it was. This check. Queen b6 check. Very nice. Very, very nice. Okay, so probably you have to block the check. I don't think allowing the queen in is possible. Okay, he plays rook e3, which I think is also fine. Wait, but isn't that just a fork left now? Oh, this might have been a tactical error. Okay, but he has knight c5, getting tempo on the queen, which is just in time. I'm not sure he saw this ahead of time. He's probably just very fortunate to have this resource available. So he might have just tricked himself a bit there. But okay, white's king situation is still not the best. There's still this diagonal to deal with. So black probably is still slightly better. Yeah, and he proves this point with a move. Bishop takes, daring you to take and then give him some discoveries. So yeah, you immediately see the consequences of playing the moves g3 and f3. Whenever you're making safety an issue like this, there will be consequences. Philip is playing very well, I must say. Showing good form in this entire match. Okay, so the bishop just come back. Black is a clear pawn up. White's king safety is still an issue. White's dark square bishop is horrible. White has still not developed this knight. It's finally come out. So yeah, black is just better here. Apart from being up material, he probably even has a better position still. So this will be another tough game to hold for Kingsley. And it feels like that may be a bit of a narrative in this match. But let's see if he can turn the tides. I mean, he still does have a solid position. He does have a bit of defending to do. So I would put the bishop here on g1 just to cause the guy's queen some issues. Try to find a good square for your rooks. You need to open some sort of file for the rooks to be active here. You need to find a way to deal with this bishop. Yeah, these aren't easy questions to answer, because if you want to, well, he finds bishop g1, which is a good start. If you want to open up any file with something like c4, what you do is that you make that bishop also very, very strong. So this pawn structure is good at keeping this bishop at bay, but it also kind of gives you no open files to work with, and you can't really play something like f4 f5. So I mean, what will your rooks be doing? And if your rooks don't prove any advantage, then he's just better as it stands. So yeah, he has a tough position to hold, but we've seen him do wonders just now. I mean, the position he held in the previous game was way worse than this. So yeah, let's see what happens here. And in this game, he's keeping the pace on the clock as well. He showed how that became a huge factor at the end of the other one, and maybe relevant in this game as well. So Philip steps out of the pin with queen c6, the x-ray pin by this bishop here on g1. And I mean, black still does have to find a way to break through. The simplest plan would probably be to just play b5, b4, smash open this diagonal, and then yeah, probably black is clearly winning. Another one is just to emphasize your superior in the center, because your extra. But he finds a tactical solution. Yeah, so this probably might be game over soon. Bishop g5 is just a skewer, and if you play this move, then he has. Whoa, I thought he had a discovery here. So that was the idea. But I guess he plays rook here and he's still doing fine. But that can't be good. I mean, it doesn't feel to me like that should be good. Okay, but he goes for 94 instead. Hits the queen, gets more tempo. Yeah, the knight is now has an outpost there on e4. This is, yeah, still just much better for black. The queen probably goes away somewhere. The bishop will come back to f6, and you still do have this x-ray to deal with, by the way. Some things like this and this can happen very quickly. So yeah, I expect just bishop f6. I don't know if he's thinking of sacking here. I would actually seriously consider it, because the position is just horrible either way. So bishop does come back to f6. But again, he's keeping good pace on the clock, and at least he's not losing immediately. If he gets to some sort of time scramble, he can swindle his opponent once again. Queen c4 going for a queen exchange to simplify the conversion. At some point, you probably do have to play the moves a5, b5, and b4 to open up this diagonal, and then yeah, then you're just better all over the board. as black. But yeah, it's another very difficult position for Kingsley to hold. With the, should I say, power dynamic in this match, it probably would be a wise strategy for him to try and draw these longer games that have more weight, right? If he's able to draw these games, then at least 3 plus 2, and especially 2 plus 1, will be determined so much by the clock management than by just the objective chess strength on the board, like these first 2 games are. And so in those games, he probably would have a higher chance of scoring points. But if he goes down 4 points in this game, then yeah, then it becomes difficult, and we'll have to actually outclass Philip in the rest. But if he manages to draw this one as well, then he has his chances, must be said. Sorry, I was away for a bit. So things have happened. So he doubled rooks on the c file. He did go for the b5 before idea that I mentioned. The knight came to e5, the bishop exchanged off, and you have this beautiful knight against this horrible bishop. He played a4, a5, he's going to play a4 like yeah, we mentioned, and it feels like this he should convert. There don't seem, at least for now, to be any counter punches for Kingsley like there were in the other game. In the other game, I mean, there weren't as many, but there was a queen. Whenever there is still a queen on board, things can happen. But here with no queen and just 2 rooks, it doesn't feel like there's much that he can do to avoid suffering this defeat. So I wouldn't go so far as to predict, because I did pretty much declare the other match over, and then stuff happened. So yeah, we'll see how it ends, but I don't expect this game to end anyway, but a win for black. Someone in chat mentions that he missed tactics to win a rook on move 25. We'll just take a look at that, just because we can. Move 25. Okay, he's talking about the same d4 idea that I mentioned. Yeah, I missed this move, and probably the person commenting has also missed the same move. That seems to save the rook. So yeah, more stuff have happened. He won the pawn there. He won another pawn. So he's now up 3 pawns, but he's going to lose at least 1. Yeah, but with the passed pawn and the knight so close to the action on the queen side, this should be a comfortable win. Okay, so now before you take on a5, he probably pushes. Why didn't he push? Well, he does have tempo with this, yeah, but I mean, he probably push. You push first. Anyways, the bishop is now on c3, but so now we have to come over with a rook, which is why pushing here was probably better. But it's still comfortably winning. The kings are joining the action. You have to look out for knight fox. Already knight f2 is a tactic that exists. He goes for something. Where's the knight headed, I wonder? Okay, so the knight is probably headed for one of these squares to try and control the c3 square, which is the blockading square for white right now. If he's able to wrest control of the square away from him, then he can just crush it. But yeah, I thought it's just a move like this, and it's not clear why. So he's coming over to the other side of the pawn, but what's the reason? Perhaps he saw something I missed. Maybe he missed something I saw. Either way, he's probably still just comfortably winning. So okay, so h5. Yeah, again, Kingsley's down to below 10 seconds, and this time there isn't much compensation on the board for the time trouble. So I don't think I don't think he holds this one, unfortunately. Yeah, so the knight did work his way to a square where he attacked c3, and now he's been able to push c3 through. And wait a minute, maybe the push c3 was a bit premature because now you can't break through, and he's going to play king here. Yeah, but even this pawn falls. No, this endgame is just completely losing. He holds on to the pawn with a move like this, but you can even play c6 here, f6 here. Sorry. Yeah, and Philip can take another pawn now. Yeah, the bishops come off the board, it's 3 pawns up. And you can't take this pawn because the pawn ending would be child's play. This is completely winning. And this time there's no complications on the board. You can't really pray for anything. This I will be brave enough to say that black will comfortably convert. Can probably even just push and force him to take and just win the pawn endgame. Why not? Yeah, he does just that. So we'll go into the blitz section with Mr. Philip up 4 points. It will be tough, but if Kingsley's time management proves to be better than Philip's, then he can get back onto the score sheet. So okay, we'll switch time controls now to 3 minutes plus 2 seconds, and you expect those games to begin anytime soon. So another interesting thing I noted in online chess is that although the relative ratings many times depend, of course, on these other factors that are relevant in online chess, and so the ratings can look different from how they are in over the board chess. Usually, I've found that doesn't really apply to specific matchups, right? Like, although their ratings are both in the 1900s or in the early 1900s before this match started, in a matchup between the two of them, their relative strength will still show. And so if they have to play like 100 games, probably their ratings against only each other, their ratings would normalize. It's an interesting phenomenon. So now we have the first 3-2 game. Philip started with 1e4. Kingsley responded with the Sicilian. Philip went for the close Sicilian structures with knight c3, and is now going for the so-called Grand Prix attack with an early f4. He will look to play something like queen e1 to h4, which is what, okay. So depending on the structure that black decides on, black went for a normal structure without a fianchetto, so Philip continued with e5, gaining space in the center. Now he just plays c3. While he's playing this opening very well, he's clearly studied this, because now he's just seemingly taking over the position. Yeah, this already looks to be quite comfortable for white. He has ideas of attacking here on the king side. Usually when you have a pawn on e5 that the opponent cannot forcefully remove, then attacks on the king side tend to work out well. And the idea is that the pawn usually stops any pieces from occupying this f6 square. Usually there's a knight here defending the king side. When it's bare like this, then you can think of attacking. So he played f6 to take care of that particular threat. But that also, of course, causes a lot of other weaknesses that you have to deal with. So now he's going to play against this weak e6 pawn. Yeah, white remains just better. Black still has this c8 bishop to deal with. The openings in general have all gone quite badly for Kingsley. That's one of the areas where the difference in strength is shown very clearly. So he goes for exchanges, which is a good idea, of course, in positions like this where he lacks a bit of space in the center, and or you might be getting attacked on the king side. Exchanging a few pieces will certainly help make your life easier. So knight f6 is now hitting the bishop. The bishop jogs back to c2. Another very intelligent move, planning some queen d3 batteries in the future to attack my arrows. To attack the king side, he responds with bishop d6, creating a battery of his own. Rook c1, preparing for any eventual opening of this file. The bishop can now drop back to b1 if necessary. Knight g4. Now there's a lot of pressure on the pawn on h2, so it's forced to push to h3. But that is a weakness, and now the dark squares around the king are all very weak and already have some dark pieces pointing towards it. So yeah, Kingsley has managed to create some important weaknesses on Philip's king side. Maybe he can exploit those. H3, the knight probably has to come all the way back, I suppose. Ah, okay, he was calculating knight h2. I thought he was actually calculating h5, which I think is interesting because after takes, these things can sometimes not end well, especially when you get a pawn to g6. Any major piece showing up on this file will be mate. Those kind of structures can be difficult to defend. Knight h2, of course, removes removes defenders of the king. Now there aren't really any pieces defending the king side, so an attack there feels right. Yeah, so he eliminates the f file rooks, and then the queen takes control of the f file. And again, he's asking the question of this other rook, right? Because if you had completed development, you'd love to take back with the rook and then maintain control of the file. But now you can proceed with something like rook f1 and then completely own this file, basically for good, from at least for the foreseeable future in this game. So that's lack of development is coming back to bite Kingsley now. But yeah, there remains a lot of the game to play, and yeah, the time control issue that I mentioned is now showing up. Kingsley is about 2 minutes up on the clock. So you play the bishop back to control this f8 square. But he does have a worse position, so there's a tactic already here, isn't there? Feels like there should be a tactic with all these pieces. I wonder if there isn't something on h7 or maybe there isn't. Feels like there should be. Okay, queen e4, attacking that square. And how do you defend? Oh no, that is mate. Wow, just missed the mate in one. That is a shame. That is a shame. Okay, so the scoreline is now 8-2 in favor of Philip. If I'm counting right, yes, 8-2. Okay, so he needs 4.5 points more to seal match victory, and Kingsley needs a lot more points to come back in this match. So they played another Sicilian, and he went for the c3 Sicilians, and Mr. Philip responded with a very principled d5. Usually when you're facing these structures, you either play d5 or you play knight f6. Knight f6 here, I'm not sure. It's yeah, knight f6 also correct here. So either of the two. I also prefer d5. It's simpler, it's more straightforward, and many times you get to play against an isolated queen's pawn. Although here he's gone for an early c4. It's an idea, but I'm not sure it's played this early. I don't know if it was prepared just yet, because now there's so much pressure on the d4 point and you can't really push as yet, and taking doesn't feel right. Yeah, he pushes, but I'm not sure that this was correct. So Philip castles long, and now he's asking a lot of questions on white's development, right? So opening up the center feels like would be a good thing for black right now, because white's development is an issue, although he's just 2 moves away from solving those issues. Yeah, and long term black's skin might be the weaker one of the two. So if white can get the development issues sorted, but he dropped a pawn. You might have just missed that the queen over here also protects that square still. Whenever pieces take on sort of unnatural positions, it's easy to miss them. But there's a queen here on h5, so the pawn, black is a pawn up, but I'm not sure that he's better, so to speak. His king really troubles me, and a move like queen b3 serves to emphasize this point, that this king is still much weaker than that one, and in a position like this, especially with opposite sides cancelling, material really isn't much of an issue. The issue is you can mate the opponent faster, because usually you can probably get some sort of mating attack, and this king having so much air, it just doesn't feel right to me. So if Kingsley can whip up some sort of attack quickly, he could get the initiative here. So bishop e6, he comes back to create these skill ideas, x-ray tactics, but then he also leaves himself in in some of those exact same extra tactics. So how does this work? Who pulls the trigger first? Ooh, I looked at this move, but I thought knight takes and it fails, right? Knight takes and the knight hits the queen, and if you take my queen, I take your queen. Yeah, Philip sees it very quickly. Don't think that works at all, which is a shame. So okay, let's calculate this out. So black just won a piece. You can take the queen, he takes the queen, and then you take the piece back. Okay, so it would be equal material if he takes this queen, which he does. Okay, so black remains a pawn up the pawn that he won earlier. And now with the queens off board, the king looks a bit safer. He's going to play king d8, I suppose, just to hold this, or play h6. Usually, again, with pawns in front of the king, you don't move them unless you have to. But another, maybe a justification for this would be is that you are closer to an endgame where you want a king closer to the center. So maybe this is not the time to be moving a king to a square like b8, but okay. So another exchange was made in the center. I'm not sure why, because it feels like white should be wanting to keep more pieces on the board, because he's the one that really has to come up with an attack now, being down a pawn. But then, yeah, there's still a fair bit of number of pieces on the board, and the second pawn also drops. Then it's not looking good. Then it becomes purely a question of whether you can get a mating attack on the king or not. If you can't, then you can maybe get the material back, or maybe even win. If you can't, you are 2 pawns down. And at the end of the day, a pawn is a pawn, and material is material. So he's attacking the pawn here. You don't really want to play this. Yep, so you play king p6. I mean, he's 2 pawns down, but he has forced black to make a lot of these moves that are not. You really don't want your king here on b6. It's not really an endgame just yet, and a move like b4 exactly seeks to exploit this very fact. But it doesn't feel like this is crashing. He dropped a piece. Yeah, probably should have protected that first, because the threat of b5 was still in the b4 was still in the position. I mean, win the piece back, but now another set of pieces have been exchanged, and it doesn't feel like you can get sufficient attack going. Okay, so the king can't go onto this file, so it probably has to come to b5. Wow, Philip's king is really doing some heroics in this game. But does that work after check? You have to go here, and does he not get mated? He gets mated. Wow. So the attack did work. Now he's forced to come onto this c file. Because b5 is a mate in something, I think, figure so. And if he comes here, he gets hit with the x-ray tactic, bishop d2. Yeah, so he calculates that correctly. So he'll have to deal with bishop e7 check. He'll lose an exchange, but he has 2 pawns for the exchange. So mathematically it's equal, but on the board it's a very different dynamic. I think it's better here is the question. It's a very good question, because I almost said black still better because he has these connected passes, but they are not really passed pawns. I mean, they are passed pawns, but they're not really threatening to push anytime soon. For now, they actually do need some defending. And white has 2 rooks. The whole board is open, so the rooks are doing excellent, and they're looking to attack the square. Oh, this is a very intelligent move. Played at the point in time where he can't double here on the g file. So the exchange is, yeah, difficult to avoid. So he has to go over here, which is not where he wants to go. Again, it's difficult to get this rook onto the g file. This square is controlled, this square is controlled, so you have to go to h4 in here, because that's really where you want your rooks. But even then, he has just bishop d5 holding things down. No, I think black might eventually prove the superiority of these 2 passed pawns. It's difficult to see how white crashes with an attack, and if he doesn't, they really are connected passed pawns after all. But this is now much more of a game, it must be said. Ooh, but rook c2 is another very intelligent move from Philip, cutting off the king completely, taking over the second rank. Now he always have to look out for that king as well. And these pawns can't do anything or go anywhere without the king support. So that's a very nice move. Now after g6, his pawns are all quite well protected. So yeah, I think black is doing fine. Remains to be seen how the game will continue. So the rook has come to d8, but I'm not sure where it's headed. Again, the bishop does such a fine job of protecting all the possible weaknesses. It feels like there should have been something, but it's got seeds. But yeah, now he just drops a rook, and this will be another game for Philip for sure now. Which is quite unfortunate for Kingsley. He did play well, but yeah, it looks like he just came up against a stronger opponent today. So that brings the score to, I think, 10-2. That was the second game of 3+2. So we will have two more games in this time control, which means if Philip wins both of them, then he could end the match without the need for the bullet portion. He's really doing well in improving his superiority, it must be said. Okay, so now Philip goes for a London. Okay, so his white openings, he's keeping them flexible. You can't really predict whether he plays e4 or d4. And he plays all these systems so well. I mean, I must say he's one of the players that I know has a lot of knowledge when it comes to chess theory, opening, middle game, and game anywhere. And probably if not for the more, do I say, political or executive aspects of his responsibilities, he probably could have been. He's the one in his generation. Is the one that I feel had the strongest chess potential, and still does, of course. But now, I mean, he has more important responsibilities, so probably he's not able to play as much as he would like. But here he has a fine position. Yeah, but I mean, his strength still shows quite clearly, doesn't it? He's still one of the best anywhere in the country. So he has a very fine landing position here. The bishop takes his position here on d3. Yeah, black castles queenside, and this diagonal is going to be some sort of problem. He's going to play c3. At some point, he's going to double these guys and ask some questions here. Kingsley goes for a very similar structure to the first game. Okay, there he had included just these two moves, but he's playing for a similar e5 idea. Here, it feels like it will take a while to achieve e5. As it stands, white protects that square 3 times at least, and black only once. So he would have to play 1, 2, 3, 4 moves before he can get e5 in, which is a lot. So yeah, white is again better out of the opening, and again the openings really haven't gone too well for Kingsley in this match. That's something he may be looking at improving going forward. Knight h5, that is a nice move. I think it's correct. Although you didn't need to answer the question of what you do with your knight now. So he plays e5. Now that the bishop has been forced off that square. That sequence I think is correct. But wait, he has to calculate. He has to have calculated e takes e, pawn takes, and then knight takes e5, revealing this discovery. I don't know if he calculated it or he missed it. But if he missed it, that might be a pawn. No, it's not, because of the bishop here on d3. So Philip takes once. He won't take twice. He won't blunder that like me. And now do you take with the pawn or do you take with the knight? Probably doesn't matter all that much. But yeah, with the knight makes a bit more sense to get a few more of these exchanges in. So it goes bishop d3. The knight goes back to f6. Yeah, white is still probably better, although he allowed bishop g4 and now plays h3. Yeah, that sequence h3 is usually a much more effective move to play before the bishop lands. I mean, whenever the bishop lands and you play h3, it just goes back to h5, and you're not really going to play g4 here, I don't think. So it's, I mean, you always want that, and why bother with a weakening move like h3? But okay, the possibility for g4 remains, so it's useful in some positions for sure. But in general, unless you have some specific reason, don't weaken your king like that. So he takes on f3, forcing the queen to take back because the pawn on e4 is tender. So the queen takes, And he plays queen c8. That's an odd looking move. I guess the queen is headed to e6. What would have been a more typical development plan that would have been rook e8 and bishop f8, but he also goes for something interesting here. Okay, but yeah, again, he's keeping pace on the clock. Is black, although he has another uncomfortable position. He does do well making decisions in such cramped positions because it's not easy playing with very few squares like this. It can be annoying, but now he's seeking to gain some space over here on the queen side with something like c5, b5, but then he's created this weakness on d6 that white is probably targeting. I don't think, yeah, I mean, it's difficult to suggest anything else, especially after you play something like queen c8. Probably do have to continue down the c5, b5 route. So you can't defend d6. D6 is not too weak, and you get some counterplay for it. Oh, but bishop b3, that's a very nice and nasty move. That basically ensures that you're not going to be pushing this pawn forward anytime soon. So b5 and d6 will always be a weakness. So he plays b5, threatening to block that bishop away. The bishop comes to here and been exchanged off. And now it's maybe a little easier to defend d6. But then it's also so symmetrical that it can't really win because black really needs to win now. It's getting these slightly worse positions isn't going to do him any good. If he doesn't get some wins in very soon, he's going to lose the match. So knight e4, he took and plays bishop f6, b3, aha. But the time is now showing, so Philip is down to under 30 seconds. But the position is so easy to play. He doesn't really have to make any tough decisions. There's a tactic here on bishop takes h6. You probably see it at some point. Okay, but probably he missed it. But now he controls the e file. Again, his position is not difficult to play. When you are down time, it really depends on the position on the board. This is not a position that it's super relevant that he has 20 seconds to 50 seconds because it's very natural to make moves here. He doesn't have to think much, he doesn't have to calculate much. Although, I mean, a lot of the game remains to be played, so he could easily enter some sort of end game where he needs to calculate. But now he wants to take queens off and make it very simple, so you should avoid it. But then how do you avoid it? Should you play something like queen c8, which is super ugly? Probably have to go in for this exchange after all. Yeah, at least allow him to exchange it off. And now it feels like even with 10 seconds or even playing just on increment, you should be able to not lose this position as white. Maybe you don't win, but at least you don't lose either. I don't have any clear weaknesses that black can attack. I mean, the weak pawn is here, but you ask yourself how this black rook is ever going to attack that pawn. And, yeah, black really has just nothing to do. It's such a safe position for white. At least for now, anything can happen as we have been taught by this match. So here you probably play g4, and he really should never take because after this pawn would drop and then but he does. So you just take back for now. You play king f5 and pick up that pawn here. This is now white is better. I mean, he was slightly better, but now he probably has an endgame that with time you expect to win more times than not. But he wants to go for the slower route. You could just take the pawn and argue that your king is closer to the action. So after a move like this, either you force rooks off, or if he goes away, you go and attack his weaknesses. And if he exchanges rooks, then you just sweep up all the pawns. So I think that was a winning ending. But he wanted to keep his extra pawn. I mean, it's difficult to make such a decision with 10 seconds on the clock. But yeah, if he allows the endgame to go on, things might happen. But again, this is the kind of position where it's very difficult for things to happen. And yeah, now he's even losing the pawn with check. So, and Philip even has more time. So I do fully expect him to reel in another point. Yeah, now it's very, very easy. King comes here and the rook has to give itself up. So that will make the score 12-2 in Philip's favor. The score is much more lopsided than the ratings would suggest, at least the online ratings. Yeah, Philip is playing very excellently today, must be said. Even being a stronger player, he's not giving his young opponent any chances. So this is, I believe, the third game of the 3+2 section, and the scores stand at 12 points in Philip's favor versus 2 points for Mr. Kingsley Brown. So here we have another fairly flexible opening from both sides. Philip takes back on d5 with the knight to leave the diagonal open for this flankated bishop over on b7. Again, white hasn't played very ambitiously from the opening, and so doesn't hold much of an opening advantage, although he's probably still slightly better as it stands. Yeah, definitely slightly better now. He can prepare a move like d4, and then it's clearly better. So this is actually game 6. I hope I'm not forgetting. So there was a draw, then a loss. Then hasn't he lost every game after? Yeah, so he's lost 3. Yeah, that's it. So this is game 6. So he's lost 3 3+2 games worth 2 points each, which is 6 points. Lost one of the 5+3 games, making 10 points, and then he drew one, making the score 12-2. Which means, I was miscalculating. I thought he needed 14, more than 14 points to get a match. So if he wins this game, then the match is over. If he scores, he's already on 12 points, so he just needs to get on the scoreboard even once, then the match is over. Any draw or win. So yeah, that is a tough position for Kingsley to be in, and he doesn't really have a good position. He never managed to push d4 like we would have liked, and now d3 is just a weakness he has to defend. But he still does have a bishop pair, so he's probably not much worse. And now he's forcing through d4. I mean, if he works tactically, he's fine. Yeah, he's just fine. Maybe he can even claim to be slightly better because he still has the 2 bishops. But if it doesn't work tactically, then he's just losing. And I think maybe it just works. I mean, the d4 square is defended enough times. So he's probably equalizing, but he's white, so you shouldn't be equalizing out of the opening. You should be trying to get some sort of advantage. So his openings really left a bit to be desired. I think they just put him in very difficult positions, but now did he miss this, or it doesn't work because of stuff like this? Yeah, maybe it doesn't work. His opening just gave him tough positions, and against such strong players, if you give them such positions, then I mean, you might just get crushed. But all the same, I think Kingsley has made a very impressive showing. I mean, there aren't any horrible games. He played well. It wasn't easy, I don't think, for Philip. So I mean, what's his rating now? Not sure if he's in the top 5. I mean, he's of course one of the strongest players in the country, can beat anyone on any day. So to at least have a good showing against him is an accomplishment. Okay, so now Philip has a better structure with his pawns. Sorry, I thought these guys were isolated, so he doesn't really have much, does he? Then white actually might be slightly better here, but it's so very slight. And the reason is that he has this 3-on-2 on the queen side, so in many endgames he has the possibility of creating a passed pawn. He also still has a bishop pair, which can dominate the bishop and the knight again in some endgames. But the queens would have to come off for any of these things to become relevant. For now, it's probably still very cool. He goes a5. We haven't really had many end games, have we? All the games seem to have been decided decided in the middle game. I mean, the games have been lost or won by the time the end game showed up on the board. So we haven't had any, and that's really how it is in, at least for our level. Don't get to play end games much. Okay, so we have another premature match. This might be a theme, at least for the first round. Yeah, there may be some mismatches because of the nature of the parent system, but in the coming rounds, probably have much more balanced pairings, and we'll have more games going the whole way. Yeah, so queen b5 by white here, and yeah, you see it's tough for black to do much. So he goes for a plan with f6. Not sure f6 is indicated just yet. The problem is that queens are still on the board. In an endgame, sure, play f6 to bring your king into the center, but you're not really going to play e5 with stuff like this still on the board. And oh, why give up your bishop for seemingly no reason? I mean, I thought that the basic plan would be to play a3 and b4 and then make your extra pawn on the queen side visible, but I don't know. Wow, that's quite a decision. He decides just to go in for a same colored bishop endgame, and now he's not even better after playing f3. So okay, this is how you make your bishop bad. You put all your pawns on the same color square as a bishop, and it's a bad bishop now. He actually managed to manufacture but this is a good bishop. This bishop is active, so he managed to go back and then play f3, which I understand gets your king into the action, but you have a bishop before you have a king. So he goes in for the exchange here, which is fine, and now the endgame is probably just drawn. Pawn endgames are actually quite interesting, and he played b3 first. Let me see. Yeah, b3 is probably correct. So he wants to go and create an extra passed pawn on the queen side. But the problem is that whenever it is, because the pawns are here on c5 and a5, whenever it is that you push b4, you are also going to give him a passed pawn on b4. And the thing is that for black, b4 is closer to the queen in square than your passed pawn that you would create on the c file. And the c file is going closer to the king to come back and stop. So these two have effectively completely dominated these three, which means you actually are playing this endgame effectively a pawn down, unless of course you can get your king here. But he's probably not going to allow you to do that. So you probably have to allow a standoff. If it's a standoff, you don't really want to break it because you're on the west side. Yeah, you go for the draw. And yeah, I think black might have still been winning this endgame. I'm not entirely sure, but I mean, it feels like you should be able to manufacture a pass one over here, and white really is just stuck on the queen side. But anyways, the match is over. It seems they are aware since a rematch wasn't requested. So that brings us to the end of the second match in this KCC Invitational. I must say it was a very nice match to spectate. Mr. Philip really showed his strength here, flexed his muscles a bit, and really dominated the entire match. Kingsley didn't do bad at all. He did play very well, very resourcefully, especially in that first game. That was wonderful. But ultimately, I think openings and the middle games just let him down. He had bad positions left, right, center, and you are going to lose majority of those when you're playing against such a player. But I think he did do well. The experience, of course, will be very good for him. And yeah, we all hope to improve. I mean, that is ultimately the point of this entire enterprise. So thank you very much for tuning in. I hope you continue to follow the matches here on our YouTube channel. We'll be uploading as many as we're able to commentate on. I'll be doing that together with Ben. And we are looking to maybe even bring in some guest commentators. I only tease that maybe we'll have some others joining us. So thank you very much. Happy chessing. Continue following the tournament. See you later.